Earlier this year, I made a video warning that eBay was testing a new attribution model for promoted listings. At the time, it was only live in Germany and being rolled out in a handful of other countries. I said in that video that it hadn't hit the US yet and hoped it never would. Well, now we know. According to a report from Value Added Resources, this model is coming to the US on January 13th, 2026. And if you sell on eBay and use promoted listings, this update matters a lot because eBay's redefining what counts as a promoted sale and charging you for sales that had nothing to do with your ads or your buyers or your marketing at all. It's completely absurd. So let's talk about it. So to understand what's changing, we need to talk about how eBay's promoted listings currently attribute sales. If you've used general promoted listings before, you know the basic idea, right? You set a percentage like 2% and eBay boosts your item's visibility. If someone sees that promoted listing and buys the item, you pay the fee. That's the premise of the whole system. It's supposed to be performance-based advertising, but under the hood, eBay uses different attribution models to decide whether your ad gets credit for the sale or not. There are currently two attribution models in play for general promoted listings. The first is direct attribution. This is the one that makes the most sense. You know, a buyer clicks on a promoted listing and buys that same item and you get the sale. You pay the ad fee. There's a cause and effect. You get a payment. There's no complaints with that part of the system at all. There's another attribution model called halo attribution. It's a little fuzzier. A buyer clicks on your promoted listing, but they don't buy that item, but later they come back to your store and buys a different item from you. eBay still considers that a promoted sale and charges you the fee. This one's debatable, but at least there's a traceable connection, right? The ad brought the person in, the sale actually happened. It sort of makes sense. But now on January 13th, 2026, eBay's adding a third model here in the US. They haven't given it a formal name yet, but here's what it does directly in eBay's own words. eBay will report an attributed sale from a general campaign when a buyer purchases the same item that was featured in the ad that was clicked on by any buyer in the most recent 30 days. So let that sink in for a second, right? Two completely unrelated people, one person clicks on the ad, some other person, unrelated, actually buys that item, you pay the ad fee. This breaks every assumption about how attribution is supposed to work, right? Because there's no longer any logical link between the ad and the sale, right? There's no influence that was made. There's no connection. There's no cause and effect. It's total insanity. Let's talk about why this matters, okay? Because attribution is the mechanism that connects an outcome like a sale to a cause like an ad. It's what tells you that the ad did its job and generated a sale for you. But under this new model, there's no connection. You know, the person who clicked didn't buy. The person who bought didn't click on the ad. It just makes zero sense at all. There's no trail of influence going on here. There's no cause and effect, no actual performance to justify the cost. This turns promoted listings from a performance-based advertising into a flat fee with a marketing label slapped on it. Let's say you run a company, right? And you hire a recruiter to fill a role and they send you a candidate, but you don't hire them. And then a month later, somebody walks in off the street, applies for the job and they get it. And that recruiter sends you a bill, right? That's not attribution. That's absurd. You would never pay that recruiter because they had nothing to do with the person who got the job. We've already seen what happens when this rolls out. In Germany, where this model went live, sellers saw a massive jump in their ad attributed sales from 50% to over 80% without any increase in traffic or conversion. So the same exact listings, same clicks, same number of sales, but now eBay was calling 80% of those sales promoted and charging you for them. Let's apply that to my own numbers to see what we can expect when this goes live soon here in the US. So last year I did about $59,000 in gross sales and 52% of those came from promoted listings. I tend to promote it around 2 to 3%, and so I paid roughly $750 in ad fees. If the new attribution model pushes my promoted sales from 52% to 80% like it did in Germany, my ad fees go up to $1,150, and that's a $400 increase. For the same number of sales, the same listings, just more fees, because I don't know why. Not because the ads perform better, but because eBay changed how they define performance. And look, platforms evolve. I get that. But what eBay is doing here breaks the fundamental promise of how promoted listings are supposed to work. This isn't about optimization. It's about redefining advertising so that they can charge sellers more without delivering any more value at all. And that's the real problem here, because when sellers can no longer trace a clear line between what they paid for and what they got, trust just disappears and the whole system stops making sense. So what am I going to do about all this, right? Truthfully, this news just broke and I haven't really made any final final decisions yet. I might continue using promoted listings, but if I do, it'll be with a very different mindset, because promoted listings, as we knew them, will no longer exist, right? Going forward, it'll really just be pay to play. It will no longer be performance marketing. It'll be like a toll booth. And if I decide to pay that toll, it won't be because I believe in the system. It'll be because I've run the numbers and determined it's still profitable. Or maybe I'll just stop using promoted listings altogether and see how far my sales actually drop because of it. And then I'll be able to compare the difference between the loss in sales from no longer promoting and the cost of basically promoting every single one of my items and all of my sales being attributed to a promoted listing. So it's tough to say right now, but definitely something to think about over the next few months. So again, this policy goes live in the US on January 13th, 2026. And again, this isn't a shift, right? It's a deconstruction of the entire system. Under this new attribution model, to be clear, promoted listings are no longer an ad platform, right? It's simply just another fee system. So it's dressed up to look like marketing, but it's just another fee system, because real advertising is built on performance, right? Cause and effect. You spend money, you get exposure, you track conversions. But under this model, none of that matters anymore. You pay whether the ad worked or not, whether the buyer saw the ad or not, whether the sale had anything to do with your ad or didn't. So let's stop pretending this is advertising anymore. It's just not. And the only question left is this: does it still make financial sense to participate in this system? I don't know yet. We'll have to see.